Terraforming Mars has 1 to 5 players trying to make Mars habitable for life. Stronghold Games provided this in exchange for an honest review. I'm going to skip this setup, although I'll touch on a few things. First, the basic game has all players using the beginning corporation cards. These award the same starting resources to everyone. After players know the game well, use the standard corporations. These change starting resources and have a unique and thematic ability. Depending on if you're playing the basic or advanced game, you'll either receive and keep 10 cards at the start or need to buy some from the 10 you're initially dealt. Either way, you'll have an opening hand. Beginning in the second round, players receive 4 more cards. Purchase as many as you'd like for 3 mega credits each. During the game, one available action is to play a card. The play cost is in the top left, and sometimes an additional requirement will be shown. Tags are in the top right. Some requirements are tied to tags. The tag also shows if you can spend steel or titanium to buy the card in addition to or instead of mega credits. The effect or action is above the art, and immediate effects are below. Some cards may also award victory points, or VPs. On your turn, you may take up to 2 actions or pass. Passing means you're out for the round. Otherwise, play continues around the table until everyone has passed. In addition to playing cards, you may use a standard project. Sell cards for 1 mega credit apiece, boost your energy production, build a city, and so on. These tend to cost more than they would from cards, but sometimes are necessary as a prerequisite or to trigger a combo. You may also claim a milestone. Each may only be claimed by 1 player, and only 3 may be claimed in a game. If you meet the requirement, build 3 cities for example, spend an action to pay 8 mega credits and place a marker on the icon to show you've claimed it. Each milestone is worth 5 VP at the end. To fund an award, spend an action and pay the cost. The first is 8 mega credits, and they get more expensive from there. Like milestones, only 3 per game. At the end of the game, check the funded awards, the most science tags for example. The winner gets 5 VP, and second place earns 2 VP no matter who funded the award. I mentioned that some cards have actions. Activating these is another thing you can do on a turn. For example, you activate herbivores by placing a cube on the card, then place another cube to represent the herbivore that you've bred/cloned. Let's talk about player boards before getting back to actions. The top left shows your current mega credits, plus your production. At the start of each round, you'll move the generation cube up the track, then earn mega credits based on this production track, plus your terraforming rating. Your terraforming rating goes up whenever you add ocean tiles, increase oxygen levels, or raise the temperature. The second and third sections are for steel and titanium. I mentioned earlier that these can be used to help pay for cards. Plants are in the bottom left. Next is energy. Unspent energy turns into heat at the end of the round. Heat is in the bottom right. 2 other possible actions on your turn are to spend 8 plant cubes to place a greenery tile, which increases oxygen, or 8 heat cubes to raise temperature. When placing tiles, ocean goes on ocean, and greenery and cities go anywhere else. Some cards may allow you to break this rule. If possible, you must place greenery tiles next to existing ones. When placing a tile, gain the board reward that you cover, usually plants, and adjust tracks if necessary. The game ends when the 3 parameters have been met. All oceans have been placed, and the temperature and oxygen tracks are at the maximum levels. Go through one final production phase, then trade plant cubes one last time, if possible, to add greenery tiles. After this, add up your scores. Beginning with your terraforming rating, check awards and milestones. Check cards for VP and also the board. Earn 1 VP for each greenery tile and 1 VP for each city, plus each adjacent greenery tile, even if you don't own the greenery. The player with the most VP wins. Play cards to terraform and build your engine, and grab VP any way you can. That's Terraforming Mars. Terraforming Mars needs a dining table. The board is surprisingly reasonable, but the bits in large player areas take up a lot of space. Setup and takedown isn't quick, and your first few games won't be either. Once you have a good storage system and know the rules, expect a 3-player game to be down to around 2 hours. There's lots of reading, at least grade 4, and some text is really small. If you can read and understand the cards, you can handle this game's math. I'd save this for experienced 10-year-olds at the youngest. In our fourth game, my plan was to spread quickly to control the more valuable locations. I generated tons of plants and money early, which I combined with my corporation bonus. Place greenery for one fewer plant resource. I placed them near oceans to get the mega credits and built a combo with those greeneries. I did well, but Dad grabbed all the milestones and finished first in both awards to win the game. Terraforming Mars isn't attractive. The starting references are on 4 cards. Why? And the player boards are terrible. You'll knock cubes all over, even if you aren't clumsy like me. Buy upgraded boards on BoardGameGeek. Print out fan-made references while you're there, and most of this game's issues are solved. The cards are still a mix of art and photos. Choose one next time, and the board is what it is. On the plus side, the graphic design and layouts make a lot of sense and are clean. Everything will click halfway through your first game. The only thing we forgot about was the mega credits for placing tiles next to oceans. I do wish the oxygen symbol popped a little bit more for greenery, and red borders on the icons can be tough to see in low light, especially those around the red heat icons. I really love the cards and combos as you get your engine up and running. Lose energy production, but gain 2 plants, allowing you to plant greenery. Place that tile on a space to gain 2 steel, then use those cubes to help pay for a building to boost your energy production back up to where it was. Brilliant! The different corporations and therefore variable setup are a huge improvement over the basic game. If you're pushing toward the parameters, you might not be building a strong engine. If you're focused on your engine, you might not be pushing towards the end, meaning this can drag. Turns can also drag if people aren't planning or paying attention. Basically, this game is at its best when everyone knows the game and is focused on that balance. When it works well. Terraforming Mars is a top 5 game of all time, according to BoardGameGeek users. I don't agree, but it is a very good engine builder that, thanks to the massive deck, allows for many different strategies. I never play this without the unique corporations, and I absolutely recommend buying upgraded player boards. My very first review was Fields of Green, a gorgeous engine builder that has tile placement in a tableau, meaning physical layout is important. It adds another puzzle in addition to the regular gameplay. It also has a really good draft and resource system, although so does this. In other words, I absolutely recommend Fields of Green over this, but both can certainly have a place on the same game shelf. I don't know when, but I'm going to review On Mars, which has the same theme, at some point. We'll see whether it makes sense to have 2 developed Mars games in your collection.